Do you know what GMOs are?
Do you know how many GMOs are in your food?
Well, stay tuned to find out how GMOs are affecting your life.
Hi, I'm Robert,
And I'm Wesley.
and we're the Food Sleuths.
So Robert, what are GMOs?
Well, Wesley, GMOs are genetically modified organisms. What that means is scientists are changing the DNA in our foods.
Is this common, Robert?
I don't know, but up next we'll be talking about corn, rice, and soybeans. 3 crops that are highly genetically modified.
Wow, rice? As in the rice I eat in sushi? Man, I love sushi.
Exactly. Now let's look deeper into the dark underworld of GMOs.
In general, what's your stance on genetically modified foods?
In general, I think some genetic modification has to be done to get the output needed for the growing population.
I think we don't really know what the results are, like evolutionarily. So, and there's been a lot of experiments with like rats that have like grown huge tumors, so it's pretty freaky.
I think it's a really bad idea.
I don't agree with it, although I do consume it.
How much of processed foods would you guess is genetically modified?
Oh gosh, like 99%.
Probably 70%.
How do you think genetically modified organisms affects the environment?
I don't think it's good for the environment. I think it changes how the whole planet functions.
Oh, they take over what's natural, so kind of reverses what Mother Nature does, I guess.
I think it greatly affects the environment, and it makes the things we're eating homogenized, and nothing varies anymore.
What do you think some of the health risks are?
I don't think we know, but I don't think they could be better than what nature makes.
I don't really know. I don't think processed modified food is healthy.
I think they're bad for you. It's got to be bad for you.
Have you ever heard of GMOs? While the term GMO, or genetically modified organisms, means that scientists are altering the DNA of our foods to increase production, organic means the food was made with natural substances that can be recycled back into our ecosystem. We're going to check out some of the most popular genetically modified crops on the market today: corn, rice, and soybeans. So you think you don't eat those foods? Well, if you like meat, chicken, pork, or beef, you're still eating those crops because that's what your meat eats. Let's see what's been in the news lately about these 3 GMO crops.
Let's start with rice. Rice is a staple food for a large part of the world. Let's begin with some recent news on genetically modified rice. In July of 2013, some commercial non-genetically modified rice in the U.S. tested positive for genetic modification. This was the result of the environment being irreversibly contaminated from Bayer's illegal testing of genetically modified rice during the 90s. A problem of all genetically modified plants, including rice, is that the plants can cross with other similar non-genetically modified plants to produce mutant baby plants. Due to the presence of frankenrice in U.S. rice exports, U.S. rice farmers are suffering as Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, and many other countries place strict limitations on U.S. rice. Russia and Bulgaria felt even worse about U.S. rice and completely banned all rice imports from the U.S. because rice had not been tested for safety. On the brighter side, genetically modified rice is helping to save the vision of rice eaters. Natural rice lacks carotenoids, the stuff our body transforms into vitamin A. Because of this lack in vitamin A, people suffer from an increased amount of vision problems in places where rice is eaten almost exclusively. So to save the world, German researchers developed a new type of rice they call golden rice, for obvious reasons. This gold-colored rice contains a gene from E. coli and another gene from daffodils, which activates a whole bunch of complicated sciencey stuff that ultimately puts carotenoids into the rice. Rice is also being genetically modified to resist herbicides, make pharmaceutical proteins, and yield more rice. Next, let's talk about corn. Did you know that almost everything you eat contains a trace of corn? Like rice, corn is also a staple food around the world. Genetically modifying corn was introduced in the U.S. in 1995. Most genetically modified corn that we eat is in the form of high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is sweeter than regular corn syrup because the glucose has been turned into fructose and is almost in every processed food that you can find in the supermarket. How about some recent news on corn? Recently, China rejected Syngetta's genetically modified corn, costing the U.S. agricultural industry a whopping $2.9 billion. The reason for this ban on Syngenta corn is because the shipments contained genetically modified traits that protect against rootworms and army ants, and these traits are unapproved by the European Union and China. Genetically modified corn is often modified to be resistant to specific herbicides. Companies can patent both the corn and the herbicide that is resistant to. For example, Monsanto's Roundup herbicide and Roundup Ready corn. Some herbicides sprayed on genetically modified corn are reported to have caused allergies and flu-like symptoms that sent people to hospitals. Farm workers who sprayed these chemicals also reported to have respiratory, eye, and skin problems. There have also been studies on animals of the effects of genetically modified chemicals. There is some controversy about whether GMOs are beneficial or risky to the human health and the environment, but so far there isn't any solid proof in the studies or debates.
Lastly, soybeans. Soy is found in bread, cereals, crackers, and meat products with fillers. This means our beloved hamburgers contain quite a bit of soy. Now on to genetically modified soybeans. The US and Argentina almost exclusively produce genetically modified soybeans because these countries approve genetically modified soybeans without restrictions, treating them like conventional soybeans. The Mexican government also authorized the planting of one of the Monsanto's genetically modified soybeans, but Mayan authorities reacted angrily. They said that the genetically modified soybeans affected their traditional beekeeping practices, and they went to court to stop the planting. This genetically modified soybean is also called the Roundup Ready soybean because it contains genes that make it resistant to Monsanto's Roundup herbicide. Just like with corn, there are perceived risks to humans and the environment. There is no conclusive evidence backing the claims. Now that we learned the recent stir about genetically modified corn, soybeans, and rice, there is still uncertainty about how genetically modified foods can affect our health and environment. The crazy thing is, even though there is very little conclusive research done about the effects of GMOs, everyone is still eating genetically modified foods every single day without knowing it.
Wow, who knew GMOs are that common nowadays?
GMOs were created to feed the growing population, but not much conclusive research has been done yet to know whether or not they are good for our bodies or the environment.
To find out whether or not your food is genetically modified, you should contact your policymaker and ask them to support GMO labeling in your state.
Shouldn't we all have the right to know what's in our foods?
Since we don't know the full effects of GMOs, eat organic food just to be sure.
Organic foods are not only great for you, but it is becoming more popular and cheap. And who doesn't want great food for a great price?
Wait, we're not done yet. If organic food becomes more popular, our environment will also improve because organic foods are actually proven to be healthier for the earth. Don't forget to share this video with your family and friends.
Also, check out our other videos to know more about what's really in our food.
Make sure you leave a comment about what you thought about the video and leave a like if you learned anything new. Thank you.
Yeah.